I always feel a little bit mad scientist-ish when I start this this abstract stuff. That's what I should be saying. Hello, my name's Mad Scientist Dan, and let's get right with it. It's my newly repaired clapper. Daily Art Adventure number 830. Woo-hoo! Read it and weep. Don't weep, really. This is a happy day. This is wedding painting on Plein cold air. And special shout out to Morgan and Clay. How you guys? Can't wait for you to get here. It's going to be a good day. Thanks for letting me paint your wedding. Thanks for arranging for this nice warm weather. That's sarcasm right there, that is. Anyway, yes indeed, this is Morgan. This is a surprise to Morgan. Let me see, it's about almost 5 minutes till 3. The wedding starts at 4. I don't know if she's in the building yet, but this is a surprise. She doesn't even know this is happening. So happy surprise to Morgan and Clay. Whom, boy, that's pretty, isn't it? I'm serious. I'm as serious as I can be. It's like, dang, it's too bad that's not my style. Boy, wouldn't it be great if that was your style? You could do a painting in like 3 minutes, sell it for a couple $1,000s. Those modern art kooks, they got a racket going. They do indeed. And I'm not kidding. I'm serious as I can be when I say that's beautiful. I've said before, one of my goals when I'm painting is that at every stage of the painting process, the painting would be beautiful. Not least of which at this abstract stage. So, as you old timers know, I have absolutely no idea which of those marks will show up in the finished painting. Okay, are you paying attention? I have no idea which of these marks will still be visible in the finished painting, right? Let that sink in. No idea. Therefore, my only responsibility, if you will, at this point in the painting process is to make sure that all the marks are attractive, just to avoid using the sort of philosophically charged word beauty. But you and I both know that's really what I mean. I just want, it's that my only pressure, which is pretty mild, is to make sure that these marks are interesting, be a good word, attractive, beautiful. All right? And that's not hard to do. I mean, all you have to do is think like a pure, unadultified human being. All you have to do is think like a 2 and a 3-year-old. Who 2 and 3-year-olds, believe me, I know that of which I speak. My wife and I have had a whole house full of 2 and 3-year-olds living with us for the last 2.5 years. We love it, and their parents. We love it. Don't know how long it's going to last, but in the meantime, we love it. And so I'm getting to watch what I watched years ago with my own children, getting to watch these developmental stages. So at the moment, our 4 grandchildren in our home, the ones in our house, not counting the 2.5 grandchildren that are not living with us, the ones in our house are 3, 5, 7, and 9. You know, a year ago they were 2, 4, 6, 8. A year before that they were 1, 3, 5, 7. You got the picture. So we're getting to watch. Anyway, all you have to do to paint a beautiful abstract painting is think with your eyeballs, which means shutting down your smart-ass brain. shutting down your critical, analytical, judging brain, and just operate on pure sensory stimuli. These, what I'm drawing with here, by the way, are they're called water-soluble pastel, which one of these days I'm going to do a side-by-side experiment to try to find out, so what's the difference between water-soluble pastel and ordinary pastels, and I have no idea. There. I'm going to splash. So all I'm doing right now, again, still, all I'm doing is making an interesting abstract painting. I discovered a while ago that if you put these pastels down and then rub water over them, you get some really beautiful, fascinating effects. So, all right, that's good enough. My abstract painting is officially finished. Now I commence with the abstract realist painting, right? So I'm going to begin by starting to draw. Hey, sorry, I haven't shown you guys where I am. Hello in Korea. In the middle of the night. Well, thank you for joining me. In Moraid. Exactly, my feelings exactly. Stop right there. Uncle brings up a good point. Let me show you. First of all, I have a couple rugs on the floor to cover that, and here's the scene that I'm painting. Classic colonial church, American architecture. First Baptist Church in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I do have a photograph over here to my left that I took. Let me see how this, let me zoom in a little bit, okay? So just to show you my setup, there's my backup old phone camera phone. Which helps me a lot with composition, because I've already, composed a picture by taking that photograph. So it helps a great deal. Mostly with these first very, very, very initial marks. As you may know, whoever you is, whoops, just lost my picture, come on, hope it's coming back. The problem with painting with gloves on is you can't control any of your touch screens. The church bells just rang 3, how about that? So I'm going to do a painting of the bride and groom. I'm going to do a painting of Morgan and Clay coming out these doors, coming down these stairs. Now here's what's the word? It doesn't matter if they actually they are coming out here, as I understand it, as far as I can tell. But even if they didn't, all I need to do is I'm just giving you a little bit of wedding painter counsel, the way wedding painting works. Even if the bride and groom did not come out these doors, all I need is a photograph of them outdoors in this The lighting today is terrible for architecture, but it's great for portraiture. It's an absolutely gray day. The sky from one end to the other is the same exact gray. You know the kind of day of which I speak. So that's great for taking pictures of faces and skin tones and flesh tones. The photographers will love that. It's beautiful, beautiful weather for faces, skin, but terrible weather for architecture. So the good news is, hopefully, I'm going to get a good photograph of Morgan and Clay as they somewhere outdoors here, so that I get this light on their faces. Hang on just a second. I just realized that the place where I took this picture, this photograph, and the place where I'm standing is not the same place. That's hilarious. That's a sign of lack of intelligence. Okay, hang on. I'm going to move. Isn't that crazy? When I started drawing, I started going, wait a minute. What I'm seeing on my phone doesn't match what I'm looking at. So you get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, the stupid, the whole thing. My biggest anxiety here is that I'm wasting time. I've only got about an hour to paint out here before I have to pack up and scram, get over to the reception. Maybe I'm rethinking that now. Are you enjoying this? This is kind of fun. Morgan and Clay. Oh no, yeah, right. No, I haven't said what the temperature is. I don't know myself. It's around 40. Maybe under 40. It doesn't feel 40, I tell you. My wife, Nancy, helped me carry some of this stuff up here from the parking lot, and I complained because I forgot a scarf. So bless her heart, she said, I'll go get you a scarf. Whoa, and there's some wind picking up too. I was really thankful that up until now the wind has been minimal. This is not my normal paint outdoors easel, as you may recognize, you old timers. My normal paint outdoors easel has lots and lots of weight, ballast to hold it down in the wind. This one does not. Has some. This backpack that it's hanging on, it weighs about 35 pounds. But that's not enough if a big gust of wind comes up. This is so funny. What a broadcast, huh? especially if Morgan and Clay ever watch it. Hello, Morgan and Clay. Don't panic. By the time you get here, everything will look normal. Oh. All right, now let's see how that compares to the view that's on my, oh, I have to start redrawing again. Yeah, I am set up out here.
That is so cool.
Good.
I love it.
Good. And you can help me decide when to leave here, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I sure will. Just a little sneak peek at the bride in her dress.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's gorgeous. It has a super long trail on it. Her veil is really long. That just
beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Look at the girls, aren't they pretty too?
Yeah.
So anyway, just a little
Excellent.
sneak peek.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Summer.
You're welcome. This is so cool. I love this whole setup.
Good. All right. So my drawing is off. Aren't you glad I didn't go any further?
Yeah, I'll find out exactly, Dan, when the photographer may bring them out this way.
Yeah.
So that way
that would be
you'll
after
know,
the.
that way I can let you know like when you can leave. Do you know
Okay.
what I mean? So.
But that'll be after the ceremony, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm not doing a first look. So.
Right. Okay. Thanks. That's that Summer. That's the wedding planner. Everybody's boss today. Boy, are we glad that there are such a thing as wedding planners. I showed up at a wedding last year one time, and I was officiating. When I showed up at the rehearsal, I discovered I was also the wedding planner, if you will. I was the coordinator of the whole shebang, and that was funny. We got through it all right. Thankfully, I've done a lot of weddings. So, all right. So, here's a good free tip you guys are gonna see then. I'm glad I did my first rendering in a fairly light color, orange, because now I'm going to redraw it. I'm going to draw it again. That is some kind of scary lack of intelligence there. That I came out here and took a bunch of pictures, and then when I came back later with my wife, put all my stuff in the wrong place. Okay, so I'm going to make this pillar sort of my visual anchor. Like I'm going to say, okay, I believe that pillar's in the right place. Okay. Let's get this equipment out of my way. And I see a lot of fun, interesting chats. Sorry I can't read them all because I spattered paint on my iPad. Not the first time, believe me. Hey, that line right there gives me a good moment to explain. Oh, so I'm sorry, I'm interrupting myself. First drawing was in orange. This drawing now is in cool red, magenta, carmine kind of red, and it's darker. So the upshot of that is that the orange disappears because it's a lighter color. Does that make sense? That's a good trick you can use in many, many, many different mediums. All right, now, some of you have already figured out, oh, wait a minute, it's so doggone cold, which it is, and you have a picture of it on your phone, why are you painting it outside? Why don't you just, oh boy, here comes the wonderful Nancy with a scarf, bless her heart. Why don't you just paint it indoors from a picture? And part of the answer is because you can make so many more adjustments when you're here live. Da 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 da. Oh, ooh. Oh, oh, it's so much better.
It's in between your hat and your...
Whew. Thanks, baby. What's the temperature out here? Do you know?
No, I meant to. Would you like me to try to find a coffee?
It doesn't matter.
Do you want me to find a coffee for you?
Oh yeah, we still have some in the car. It's not hot anymore?
It's gone.
Oh, it's gone? Somebody drank it all.
We drank it.
Ladies and gentlemen, first my wife drank all the lemonade,
Hey.
and then she drank all the hot coffee. Yes, some hot coffee would be wonderful.
Okay, I'll work on that. How long do you expect to be out here?
I think I'll stay here till the end of the
Service?
until the end of the ceremony. Yeah,
What time is the ceremony at?
4 o'clock. Yeah. So
Okay, I'll try to find you.
thanks, sweetie.
Do you like chai tea? Do you like vanilla? Do you like vanilla chai?
No.
You don't really like it.
Oh, phew. Scarf, so much better. Such a simple little device. Simple little thing makes such a big difference. And I'm already wearing, a bow tie. Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't. Anyway. Okay, so why stand out here in the cold when I could, with much more comfort, paint indoors? The real answer is all of my fellow plein air painters, if you will. You know the answer to that question, and it's a little bit hard to explain. It's like the energy, the buzz. I don't mean like a drug buzz. I mean just the atmosphere, the energy. Plus, and so that's kind of, weird, new agey sounding something. On a more practical level, two things. One is no camera in the world can capture, at least so far, can capture what your eye can capture. Period. But even more than that, and I've already used this trick. Am I in your picture there? Yeah, barely. Let me move you over a little bit so you can see me, because I want to demonstrate. What's the advantage of painting on location? Frankly, it's this. Just that right there. Now, and of course I can get more extreme. I can go like this. Do you follow me? But just this, for instance, made a difference in how I rendered two lines. You can't even tell what they are yet. It's too messy. But just that little wiggle, which you can't do with a phone. I'm not saying that at all. You can't do that with a photograph, right? The photograph is locked in place, locked in space. And so there's a lot that you miss from a photograph that if you are on location, you can see, because my subject matter is three-dimensional, as you know, and I am three-dimensional, and I am in the space with my subject. Anyway, so that's part of the answer. Plus, again, just the other things that are a lot harder to codify, which is, the buzz, the buzz, I mean the energy, so to speak, in the air that is here. the moment I'm using some phthalo blue and then green paint, really just as a reminder, so that on subsequent layers I remember that this is a plant. Okay, so I'm not the fact that it's green. I don't know if any of that will show up. It might, but I'm using it mostly just as a reminder. Oh yeah, don't forget, that's a bush right there. It comes all the way down to here. All right, back to the architecture then. When I came out here initially, about an hour ago, I walked around and around and around. I don't mean around the whole building. I walked back and forth and back and forth and back and forth across the front of this colonial architecture church. Walked up and down and up and down and up and down the steps. Much of the time looking through the viewfinder, quote unquote, the screen of looking at the scene on my phone. So getting a feel for the composition using my phone. You can do the same thing with a traditional camera, and artists have been doing that for years. Just use a camera viewfinder, back when we had cameras with viewfinders. Use a camera with a viewfinder to help establish your composition. Changing my mind here. Once again, I'm standing outside First Baptist Church of Greensboro, North Carolina. I married a girl. Oh, good, here comes a bunch of people. It's like wedding painter. I mean, it looks like a wedding party. Hello. Are you guys going to a wedding?
We are.
The Smith-Johnson wedding?
Yes, the Smith-Johnson.
That guy's fast. I didn't miss a beat. And they're making you come in from here?
That's cool.
Well, y'all look great. Thank you. Oh, it's fun. You didn't see, I don't know if you saw those people or not. They looked like parents and aunts and uncles and maybe a few grandparents. In other words, they were my age. Not like the kids that are getting married here today. Those people were of a respectable age. No, and the names are not Smith and Johnson, by the way. And they didn't fall for it for a second. At least one of the men. He just laughed and said, yeah, the Smith-Johnson wedding. Well, hello. I'm doing good.
Are you painting the church?
I am.
You are?
And I'm going to paint Morgan clay in front of the church. Isn't that great?
Yeah. You are going to paint Morgan and
Oh yeah, they'll be right here.
Plein?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and I'll be painting at the reception also.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I wish I were that artistic.
You must be good at something else.
No, I'm afraid I'm not good at anything.
I don't believe that for a second.
just saying.
How about that? I guess people do use this front door. That's good to hear. So here's the, again, here, let me show you. I'll show you these people walking in. There's the architecture again that I'm trying to capture. And hello, folks. If you walk slow enough, you get in the painting. But you have to go, stand there for about 3 hours.
Thank you. Can we just Photoshop you?
Yes. We'll just Photoshop you in. One, two, three, 4 steps on this level. Anyway, I'm glad to hear they use the front door, because the front door of the church, as you can see, is the beautiful one. But I imagine that most of the time on Sunday mornings, almost everybody enters the church around the corner at the highly functional, family building, or you know what I mean? The utility building door. That's what I imagine. Which would be a shame, because this is the beautiful approach to the building. So at least for weddings, it looks like they actually do use the beautiful door. So that I was afraid I'd be out here all by myself all day. I wasn't really afraid. I just thought, well, anyway, enough of that. I'll let the rest of that sentence just dangle. Forget it. Let's move on to other things.
I gotta take a peek.
Please do. Please do.
This is so fun.
I've got to say, your presentation.
Thank you.
It's just perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
You should be, I said to your wife, we should be in downtown London.
That's
there.
right.
You look great. Thank you.
Exactly.
And I know
You're
your
very
bride's
welcome.
on the way to get you some coffee.
That's right.
Okay, good.
That's exactly
Thank
right.
you, sir.
Thank you. Sweet. So this is the wedding is in February, and these people are from North Carolina. So they were certainly not expecting anything other than what we have here today, which is a winter wedding. So the trees will be bare, although these are camellia. This is a big camellia bush here, and it blooms. It's in bloom right now. It's got deep red. It's amazing. It's one of the more surprising flora of North Carolina is these camellias that bloom in the winter. Hello, folks.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming by.
Awesome. This is all wow.
All right, so I need to do a little bit of thinking about where the bride and groom are going to go here. And I'm thinking, yeah, right about right here somewhere. Coming toward us, right in the center, I think. Let me step back and think about that for a minute. I'll let them in the center.
That looks awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then Uber over.
My black gloves are taking the place of figures here. Here. Monitor, that battery died, so I'll turn on a different monitor. Thank you all for your wonderful chats. Sorry I can't read them very well. I did splatter. I do it all the time. I splatter my my iPad with paint. I'll clean it off when I get to the back to my other easel. I use a razor blade to clean it off. Bride and groom, no, not there. Not straddling that pillar. That's so here or here. You know what? I'm going to step down on the grass. By the way, there's about a 2-foot drop off right behind me. My heels are. Oh, here, I'll pick you guys up just for fun, so you can go with me. I can't see my. Oh, I'm shaking you all over the place, but there. Okay. Do I put the bride and groom slightly to the left or slightly to the right? Hello? I'm going to put you back and continue to think about this question. I think it's slightly to the left, don't you? Let me show you what I mean. Let me come back up there. Step 1, step 2, step 3. I've got some, this is bad. I've got some brushes sitting in water. Terrible, I never do that. But evidently I do, sometimes do it. I know better. Anyway, there. All right, so now I'm thinking, bride and groom like here. Yeah, let me scribble that in real quick. Something like that. Yeah. And that is, depending on the height of the bride and groom, people are helping me a lot by walking past here because they're showing me the correct dimension. I'm going to have to raise them up a little bit, though. A little bit lower angle. Yeah. All right. Thanks, you guys, for hanging out with me, my online friends. I look forward to reading your chats later when I have time. And again, Clay and Morgan, I hope you watch this video someday when you have nothing better to do, which I hope won't happen for a long time. Thanks for getting married so we can all come and celebrate you. Okay, let's do some. I bought this fancy pencil sharpener a couple weeks ago.
You'll do some cold painting today.
I am going to do some cold painting, that's right. Because I realized that at this exact kind of context, wedding receptions and so forth, I was having a hard time because of all the shavings. So I invested in a really expensive pencil sharpener. My nose is about to start running. I'm glad you guys are. Don't cover up the doorway. That's a good point. That is a good point. But I think the base of the doorway would be okay. Hello. This is my first application of pencil. These days, it seems most of my paintings, I end up using pencil about 3 times. Once or twice in the oil stage, acrylic stage, and then once or twice in the oil stage. Once or twice in acrylics, once or twice in oils. So, but usually about 3 times total. And right now, of course, can you see what I'm doing? I'm holding up my pencil at an angle. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I need to correct that angle a little bit. So I am using the pencil lines right now quite a bit for rendering. The pencil has 2 functions. I say this all the time. This is repeat for the old time. Pencils have 2 functions. The main function is simply texture. I've come to really enjoy the grit, if I can use that word, that they add, the scratchy texture. I like the way the scratchy pencils lines look in juxtaposition right next to, right beside the smushy paints, right? Paints are more smushy, pencils are more scratchy. And I find that I really like that combination. And again, for anybody who's watching, maybe for the first time, or you haven't watched me very often, don't be confused. Using pencils in an oil painting is not conventional, it's not traditional, it's not typical. Okay? What you're watching is oddball painting at the moment.
Hey, Steve.
Y'all look so good. You just stand there for 2 hours, I'll get you in the painting.
You're going to be outside the whole time?
Just during the ceremony.
Can we finish with the painting when we get back?
No, I'm going to finish at the reception. But I'm doing 2 paintings. One of this and one of the reception, yeah. So I'll be a busy boy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to see it.
Thank you.
Are you using pastels?
Pardon?
You're using pastels?
No. Well, yes, I was for a while. But just to be crazy, not because it's traditional.
Gotcha. It's tradition.
Anyway, yeah, so using pencils is not at all traditional, conventional, right? So I always feel like I need to say that in case there's any beginners watching. And you say, wait a minute, I didn't know we could use pencils. Now back in the day, traditional, and of course still some people, of course some artists still do this, some painters, but like my dad was a traditional oil painter back in the day. They used charcoal underneath, to do a quick sketch, and it would paint on top of that. But this is not that. This does not correlate to that. But people who do charcoal under their paintings do not expect any of that charcoal to still be visible in the final composition, right? Right. Thank you. A big part of my thank you. A big part of my painting technique is predicated on this idea that you get to draw the subject many times in the course of doing a painting. For me, again, I think the typical number of drawing phases, drawing stages, drawing layers is about 8. So I get about eight times to get it right. 8 tries to get it right. So I don't have to get it all right all at once. Every time I draw it, I make modifications. Now, I must say that with this pencil, I've been following my earlier lines remarkably closely, which means, with one big exception right here, which means that according to my estimation so far, that my initial drawing in paint was quite accurate. That doesn't always happen at all. That's the exception rather than the rule. And I'm still open to making further adjustments. By the way, let me point out this pillar right here. In fact, both of these. This one leans in a little, and this one leans in a little because of three-point perspective, of course. Three-point perspective. Vanishing point that way, vanishing point that way, and vanishing point straight up in the sky. And sometime you see a lot of funny stuff when you broadcast and open yourself up to criticism. And somebody said that if you do this perspective, some crazy person somewhere, so it's hard to say they were crazy, but they said, no, never do that. It shows, or it proves that the painting was done from a photograph. Thank you. Y'all stay warm.
We'll try, you too.
All right. You know what? I just realized I've been trying to figure out all day, I mean even before today, I've been trying to figure out how to organize my work today. And I haven't been able to figure out how. I think I just figured it out. And I need my wife's emergency assistance. Because there's not an awful lot more I can do to this painting in a minute. In a little while, I'll have to quit because I have to wait for the bride and groom to get out here. And of course, I could stop the broadcast and go in and get warm. That sounds like a good option. I was going to say the other thing is I could get my wife to go to the reception venue and pick up the canvas. I left my other canvas on my other easel. I'm working with two easels today, as maybe you can imagine. Because I could start working on my reception painting while I wait for the bride and groom to show up for this one. I'm loving all your chats here. I can't wait to read them, but it would take too much time at the moment. Lisbeth, did I say that right? Lisbeth? Welcome. Good to have you here. I think this is pretty dry. Ooh, yeah, good news. Yahoo. That means I go ahead and do a glaze next. Oh, wouldn't you know it, I didn't bring my medium with me. All right, that makes this just, hello. Makes this just a little bit trickier. Hello folks. I usually carry an extra bottle of acrylic medium with me. And I find myself wanting that right now. But I'll just make do without it. All right, I've done this before, believe me. I'll just get by. Hello, folks. Good. My, I got to tell you, I like the way people in Greensboro dress.
for more head too.
You had And then where'd you get those nice clothes? There you go. I'm loving this, actually, in case you can't tell. I had no idea people would be going into the wedding through these doors. I honestly thought they'd all be going through the, fellowship hall. Hello. So what fun. What fun. So the challenge with doing a glaze like this with just water. Now all of these mediums, you newcomers, here, let me point you at my paints here for a second. Oh, you can barely see them there. There you go. All of these paints are already pre-mixed with medium, right? They're about half and half, or two-thirds medium and 1/3 paint. Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Awesome.
So I'm adding more water to make them more transparent. The problem is when you use that much water, it all just runs predictably. As you can imagine, it all just runs right off the page, off the canvas. Boy, I do think my wife is coming with coffee. It's sounding better, like more and more like a good idea. So that's why I usually use medium, an acrylic medium, which is thicker and doesn't run as much. Then you can put that on your brushes and it stays where it belongs. So that's one of the dangers of using too much water in your acrylics. The other is, of course, that if you use too much water, that you dilute the binder, the stuff that holds the paint together, but then it essentially just becomes watercolor, which means it's not stable, which is no big deal as long as you keep that in mind when you do your subsequent layers. Oh, whew. There she is. I did. Thank you. The longer you were gone, the more it sounded like a good idea.
Confident that is true. Yes.
Well, this is really fun. Everybody's coming through the front door.
So great.
So yeah, fun.
Hello, hello. Hi.
I have an important job for you, if you don't mind. You got nothing better to do, I guess.
Yep.
I want you to go back to the reception venue
Okay.
and
You know what? I've never been here before. I doubt it. I'm sure there's one somewhere. Thank you.
I'm sure there is. I can help.
What? How can you help?
You need help?
Somebody else does.
I don't think we probably try to lift, but I was just thinking it might be a ramp.
I know, I was thinking that too, but I don't see one. Is there one over here? Those are snowflakes in the air?
Yeah, it's been snowing for about 30 minutes.
No, there's no ramp. Listen, if you need an extra hand, I'd be glad to help.
All right, right there.
Looks like snow.
So there you go, folks. It's snowing.
No, I'll go in and ask her. I'll be glad. I'll help you get up there. Well, what do you think? How's the easiest way for you to?
Let's put how about we put this up there, and then we help you, one on each arm. Does that seem like a good idea?
Yeah.
Glad to help. Me.
Let me get up one too, Bill.
Here you go.
All right.
Oh, unfortunately, there's one more step.
Oh yeah,
Good.
See,
yeah.
Look, see, there's a bunch more.
Yeah,
I'll take this.
Let's go to the railing. There you go.
Go to the railing for sure.
One of you young guys. Oh, there, two young guys. I just realized, oh, wait, according, by these guys, I'm an old guy.
He's not young.
I don't know if you guys could see what's going on there. That was pretty funny. I was helping the old guy up the stairs. And I started looking for young guys. And I realized, wait a minute. How old am I? They're looking at me like, what are you talking about, old man? Because I was putting myself in the category of young man. Oh, it's good to be so young. It really is. All right, thanks for the coffee. Yes, if you would, because...
Go back over. Hi.
Hello.
Snowing.
It's snowing out here. Did you,
Amazing.
yeah, I'll be painting at... You can be at the reception?
I'm with the trolley.
Oh,
Transportation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Dan. What's your name?
Jessup. Pleasure.
Well, good to meet you. Bless you.
we're good.
Bless you. I'm the painter.
I see it.
There we go. Yup, there you go.
What fun. Good.
You have all the good fun
Yeah,
cold.
I do.
Oh,
I
yeah,
do.
we
Yeah,
do.
you get to sit in the trolley. Is it heated? I hope.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Get what?
The other canvas, because pretty
The
soon,
little one? Or
the big one.
The big one.
Pretty soon, I'll be at a point here where I can't do any more until the bride and groom get here. So
Where is it?
it's on the easel in the big room,
In the
big
big
room, to the left of the band, like in the alcove in the separate room.
Okay. Is your phone on?
No, it's not.
expecting
It's
any
no.
Okay.
All right, there you go, folks. So you heard it. You heard it first. Did you see those snowflakes? You probably didn't, did you? A man coming in says, "Yeah, it's been snowing for 30 minutes." Oh my goodness. Morgan and Clay, because we love you. Just want you to know. Well, the fact that I'm getting paid, nah, it has nothing to do with this. Oh boy. And the wind is picking up. That's what really gets to you, is the wind, not the snow. All right, I am not doing a lot of painting here, am I? I'm helping old people upstairs. I'm laughing at myself, and I'm drinking coffee. Okay, let's try to do some painting anyway. Woo! Where am Maggie? Where am I? Good. I've said it a couple times. Thanks for tuning in. Late. I am standing in front of the First Baptist Church of Greensboro, North Carolina. It's about an hour and a half from our house, Greensboro, on a lovely cold winter's day in central North Carolina. You know, I was thinking today, when I was driving or something, I don't remember when exactly, and I can't remember what got me started thinking about it. I think it was today. One's inner thought life, you know, runs at such a speed, it's hard to keep track of when was I thinking about this? Anyway, I was thinking again about all those artists whose work I admire most. And there are many, and there are many whose work is absolutely worthy of my respect, adulation, jaw-dropping, you know, envy, so to speak, who I don't even know yet. I mean, there's so many good artists in the world, it's just ridiculous. But thinking the ones that I do know.
Oh my god, I love your dress. Where's it? Oh,
it's snowing again. And I could turn you around and show you some of these people are dressed. They are dressed as if they're going from a car to a warm church, which of course is what they're doing. So what I mean is they're not dressed nearly warmly enough. Not even nearly. There's ladies standing over there with bare legs and a very cute skirt that's long but real thin. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, that's got to be cold. Whew. And at the moment, I am so thankful I thought to put on long johns today. Ooh. While we're talking about underwear, let me tell you, I went into, I don't know, one of those sporting goods stores, like Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that. I don't know which one, but one of those big chain, nationwide chain of sporting goods. A couple months ago, I don't remember why I went in there, but anyway. I ended up buying some, oh yeah, I said, I want you to get some long underwear. I hope I'm not embarrassing anybody.
Very cool.
Thank you. And I looked around, and sure enough, they had, I've told many people since then, I bought mountain climber underwear. That's what it looks like. It's not, it's like, it's dark gray or black and kind of spongy. Do you know what I mean? Man, it's great stuff. Like, dang, long underwear's come a long way since I was a kid. And I'm so glad I decided to put some on this morning. I had no idea whether I'd be really, literally. Well, the fact is, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be standing out here at all, would I? This would be completely out of the question. So, indeed, I'm glad that I had the foresight to dress appropriately. I still didn't expect to be peeing in the snow, however. Let me hasten to add, snow was not in my prediction. Okay, according to my watch, the wedding's supposed to start in 5 minutes. People, of course, are still showing up the way they do at weddings. A little bit late, a few of them. Hello.
How's Mom like?
Okay. It's a wonder that any of you ever listen to me at all. Watch me. This is so typical of me. I start a sentence, I start a thought, and then I interrupt myself. I think the expression these days is squirrel. For kind of the ADD type mindset functioning. Anyway, so I started talking about I was thinking about the artists whose work I particularly enjoy, and I can describe it. I can describe the kind of artwork I enjoy and why I enjoy it. And I don't think I'm unique. I don't think this is an unusual or esoteric thing. I think this is widespread. I think this is what most people who enjoy artwork, this is what they enjoy. Okay, it's two things. It's the convergence of a good or a believable or an accurate rendering, representation, realism, copying of nature or the subject, okay? Good drawing, you're getting the picture? It's a combination of realism and marks. You know, I've talked about this on many different ways and many different occasions, and I sometimes use a slightly different language, but right now I'm just going to leave it as marks. The kind of artwork that most people who are sensitive to artwork, buy artwork and so forth, seem to enjoy is artwork that combines, now this has nothing to do with the contemporary or modern art scene, okay? This does not count them at all. They're involved in socio-political commentary, and they're here to disturb you and so on and so forth, and I have nothing to do with that world other than to try to diminish its impact. So I'm talking about art that is concerned with beauty, again, to use the philosophically problematic term. So it's a combination of two things. Accurate rendering that every human being enjoys, contrary to what every art professor in the Western world has been saying for the last 90 years. It's a slight exaggeration to say every, but essentially every. Contrary to what every art professor says, human beings, unless they've been infected by the art establishment, all human beings enjoy seeing things rendered by hand, drawn by hand by another human being. Okay, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is the second category. What human beings really enjoy is seeing something accurately rendered, plus the marks, and I mean this in a very literal sense, the marks of the artist. And every artist, thank you, every artist makes different marks. And I'm convinced that even though some people are good at plagiarizing, apart from that anomaly, every human being comes into the planet with their own distinctive mark-making capability. And it's really our responsibility as artists is to find our true mark. Like a singer finding his true voice, an artist is trying to find what is his authentic, true, essential, native voice, mark. I will name 4 of them for you. It's the same 4 I name all the time, just so I don't confuse you. And there's a whole lot of other people worthy of mention, but 3 of my favorites are Richard Schmid, Tibor Nagy, and Jeremy Mann. And in the last several months, Christian Hook. You can Google all these people. Christian Hook. And of course, going back in history, Rembrandt. And Van Gogh, by the way. Hello. Go in there and stay warm.
Well, I hope so. I'm trying.
I hope so.
To get there.
That means it's 4 o'clock. If you can get there before the last chime, you're on time.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm good. It's fun. All right, so marks. I'll use one of the last one that I mentioned, Christian Hook. He's a reasonably good, and this is not a put down. He's a good renderer, right? He's won the like British portrait competition, you know, the annual best portrait painter in Britain kind of competition. Maybe a couple times, I don't remember. But anyway, he's won it lately. Christian Hook, you can look him up. And he's, of course, you don't win something like that if you're not able to do portraits. Right? He's a very good renderer, right? But if you look him up, you will see immediately that he didn't win because of his rendering. His rendering, I've said this before too, but this is especially true in the world of portrait. You don't win a portrait competition by your ability to capture a likeness. You simply get kicked out of the game, out of the club, you get vetoed, whatever word picture you want to use. You don't get into the game if you can't draw, if you can't capture a likeness, which is pretty difficult, by the way. Those of you who never tried it, give it a whirl. You find like, dang, this is harder than it looks. I'll be doing that later today. You don't want to when I'm doing a portrait of these kids here, I'll be sweating, because I always do. I get her done. I eventually get her done, but it takes a lot of work. Anyway, but as you'll see, if you look at Christian Hook, and really, look up, National Portrait Society, that's an American. Look at the winners. They don't win because of their ability to perfectly capture a likeness. Listen to me. They win because of their marks. And I mean literally. And Christian Hook is a great example of this, because his marks are outrageous. And I'm no Christian Hook, not even making any pretense, but these are my marks. Now, I haven't arrived yet. I'm still working really hard to get to the place where, I'm really operating out of my true center, not copying anybody, not overly influenced by anybody, but slightly influenced by a lot of people. Does that make sense? Some of you, like, you tell me every once in a while you're trying to copy, you're trying to paint in my style. Good for you. That's a great way to learn. But you just do it for a while, right? It's you use me, so to speak, on your way to your own self. You look at my marks maybe a little bit on your way to you expressing your, I don't mean expressing like in self-expression, I mean visual expression, not self-expression. I detest the notion that art is about self-expression. By the way, that comes with, I can't do it with the hat on, but back of hand to forehead, that self-expression. Get it? I loathe, to say that I loathe that thinking is accurate. I loathe that notion that we are about self-expression. We are not. I'm about expressing beauty in color, line, design, value, texture, and rendering. Got it? Anyway, so the upshot, the bottom line of this is go, 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 you go. The goal is to find out what's inside you. And the only way to get there is by doing it. Dig it out, dig it out, dig it out. It's in there somewhere. Your authentic mark. I can look, for instance, again, since I mentioned it twice, it's really snowing now. Can you guys see it at all? I can look at a Christian Hook and drool, so to speak. I can drool all day long. And, and I might even, would I like to be influenced by him? Heck yeah. Will I be? Yeah, probably, yeah. I'll look at some more Christian Hook stuff. Wish I could see it in person. But I'll look online and go, wow. I like his marks are bodacious. Really. And I'm not going to try to become him, but I'll let myself be influenced a little bit by him. And that's what you do. Hello, guys.
Can you get us in it?
Yeah, it's 3 hours. You have to stand there for 3 hours.
Yeah, like you do it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wish I could. I'm sure you guys are chatting, having a good chat here today. Thank you for joining me here. Well, I'm going to make a couple changes to the scene in front of me here. I haven't shown you guys what I'm painting for quite a while. So there's the view. Got it? There. I'm going to make a couple changes. One is I'm going to make the sky at least partly blue. Okay, I feel like it's part of my artistic prerogative to make it a little prettier day. Probably not like a pure blue sky. There'll be some cloud and grayness in it. But anyway, that's one change I'm going to make. Another change that I'm going to make is probably going to put some play of light, some light and shadow on the building, so that it's not, again, the lighting here is great for flesh tone. It's terrible for architecture because it's flat. It has a flattening effect. This kind of light, a snowy day. Oh my goodness. So we'll probably add some, and that would be in the form of maybe just a real simple, way down here. This is all in shadow. I'll have a little shaft of sunlight coming. In fact, I like that idea so much, I'm going to get this blue stuff off my brushes. I'm going to go ahead and sketch that in real quickly. And I think I'll do it with a slight color. So every once in a while, let me start that sentence again. My normal practice in the acrylic layers, is all of my colors are transparent, and the only thing that's opaque is pure white. So if I want a color, I put down white and then do transparent color on top of it. That's the normal practice, okay? But every once in a while, like right now, I violate my normal practice, and I will do a little bit, usually just a little bit of opaque color. So that's what I'm doing right now. I've got very pale yellow on my brushes, and up here I had some pale blue. And I'm saying that mostly just for you, those of you who are new on my channel, and if you're thinking about, thank you, thank you. That's quite all right. No, not at all. Not at all. Thanks. Thank you. You too. Stay warm. Anyway, so every once in a while, I'll do a little bit of color. Hard to explain why. I might explain it some other time, but I don't have the energy for it right now, so we'll just leave it. Just understand that it's the exception to the rule, not the rule. The temperature continues to plummet here in central North Carolina. It was chilly a while ago. Now, my friends, it is just flat cold. Oh my goodness. All right, that's going to be nice. And of course, as you can see, it is no accident, of course, that this shadow, ray of light shadow, comes and runs right across the points, right at the faces of the bride and groom, right? Was that on purpose? I've said this before. I remember so well sitting in college art history classes, and back in those days, of course, it was slides. Everything was slides, right? And we were looking at all these slides of historic paintings from the Renaissance and before, Middle Ages paintings. And I remember the professor talking about things like pointing out, he would say, like, do you see this triangular composition? Do you see how the painter used, the top of Mary's head and the flow of her garment and Jesus's, because medieval paintings, right? It's all spiritual stuff, and Jesus's arm and the shepherds, or whatever, you name it. You got the idea? And I remember sitting there, and they'd throw up a slide and it'd have a diagram on it showing, how the artist used these shapes, in his painting. I do remember thinking, I don't know. Really? I don't know. Really? I think you guys might be just making this up. I memorized it so I could get an A on the test, but I was always a little skeptical. Well, I've changed my mind about all that. Now that I'm an old artist instead of a young, smart aleck whippersnapper artist, which I was at the time, I think my art professors were exactly correct. That in fact the artists, for the most part at least, were doing all those things that the professor said. That the artist was aware of these trans shapes in the painting that went beyond, the objects in their painting. And at the time, I was just a little bit too young and immature to see it, but now I believe it. And now I feel like I do that kind of, most of the time when I do that, it's on purpose, like this right here. That's a pretty obvious one. Anyway, by the way, I talk often about how I make changes with each layer of drawing. And here's a real big one right here. I had this line down here earlier indicating the bottom of that railing. And now I have decided, nah, that ain't right. And I moved it up a whole half of an inch. One more railing right up here, sure. All right, I'm going to do some drawing now. I haven't done drawing with dark paint since I did all that red stuff. So it's way time to come back and do some more drawing. And once again, making any improvements. By the way, part of the way that this works for me, this drawing, I've got a piece of snow on my nose. It's not melting fast enough. It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign to have snow land on your nose and it doesn't melt. Tells you something about your nose, the condition of your nose, does it not? Oh man, it stayed there way too long. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm sorry, I started to say, before I so rudely interrupted myself again, that every time I draw, I want to be more the drawing to make corrections, right? And yet at the same time, every time I draw, I feel freer to make Dan Nelson-ish marks. Does that make sense to you? I hope it does. That goes back to the conversation I was having a little while ago about what is it that we like in a piece of art? It is two things. We like similitude or realism, accuracy of rendering, and the artist's authentic, idiosyncratic marks. That's what we like. So with every layer of drawing, my goal is to make corrections, fix things that aren't quite accurate. But in a place, say, where the drawing is accurate, then what? Then I'm free to just make happy marks. I hope that makes sense to you. Can anybody say colonial architecture? Classic, mid 20th century. I don't know when this building was built. I would guess in the 60s or 70s is my guess. But it's a classic architecture, so it's aging well. Unlike much that was done in the 60s or 70s, that was done with what I call mindless modernism, is not aging well at all. Because it was based on a faulty view of humanity, frankly. And that might be as far as I want to go with that at the moment. All right, you know what, you guys? My wife's not here yet. When she gets here, I'll have to come back out and start painting my other painting. So I'm going to end this broadcast right here. Sorry I didn't read all your chats. I'll look forward to doing that later. I have to wait pretty much for the bride and groom to get here. Then I'll paint them in. We'll go from there. In the meantime, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in that church and get warm. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.